Okay, cheers to this OpEx Friday 0DT team. This is your routine briefing. I'm going to do these, so I tried the past couple days to do them right at open. Uh, Based on feedback, it just seems like they're longer, the videos were longer than they needed to be. There's a lot of kind of empty time, and I don't want to waste your time. I want to also make these as efficient as possible for everyone involved, including myself. And so I'm going to do them around this time, hopefully a little earlier. I like to do about 10, but it's going to depend on the trading day. I have been engaged a little bit so far already, so that is why it's now 10:11. But we're just going to go through everything and kind of look at it like we were doing with the debrief videos, but we're looking at it real time as the market opens and tries to figure itself out here. So excuse the slurping sound. Let's look at our 0DT landscape for today. So I encourage you all to check out this routine warm-up document. Again, it's in the description of the debrief videos. I need to integrate that into these um, briefing videos now. But if you're looking for that, you can just go to retailtrading.com, or you can go to one of the old debrief videos to get this document. And so I already filled it out. Again, just based on the feedback, I think that's the most efficient way to do it. And so let's discuss. So yesterday, with the end of day close and the overnight action, it seemed like we were getting that bullish reversal. And I came into today, you always trade with a blank slate, but I did come in with the assumption that perhaps we were going to see that sustained bullish move. Yet I want to first draw your attention to what occurred on the open. We got that open test drive, and it was really pretty close to an open drive. We just barely ticked above to that. Let's see, the exact level was about 92, 92-ish, a little above 92 maybe, and we reversed. So we have that open test drive, which keep in mind is a bearish reversal pattern. And so far today, so before we jump into the rest of the document, let's look at my position so far today. Um, I am short from about 68, and I'm going to be just looking for opportunities to add to that short. I will give it plenty of room until we start to accept back into value. So the setup that I'm playing here is setup 3 on the warm-up document. So I'm looking here for a potential add. I'm not adding right quite yet because on my OFL software there is a bunch of demand that's kind of stacking up, so I want to clean that up before adding. But I am playing for setup 3. Once that does get cleaned up, and the initial trade was a setup 5, which is when we broke through the bottom of balance today, which is currently this is for intraday balance at about 39.65. So again, we're getting, as we speak, we're actually getting potential rejections at lower end of balance, but below there is still a little too much demand, so I'm going to give it some time. I'm going to give the futures trade itself some room just to kind of run a little bit, but at the same time, I'm not going to add until we clean it up a little bit. But man, like I said, it came in today. I thought it was going to be a pretty bullish look, but it's definitely bearish so far. So what's going on is we had that overnight inventory that was net long. We've all but unwound it. We haven't quite unwound it all the way yet, but we're pretty close. And really below 50, when we start to break below 50, I think we may see that sustained move down. The assumption today has to be, and it's going to be for me, just these bearish plays. I'm not looking for anything bullish as long as that open test drive holds. And it's really interesting because we have a very bullish overnight, including that breakout box, and that's why I'm using that 50 level. That's the bottom of the breakout box. A failed breakout is often just as good as a breakdown, and that's what we're looking at there. So the TPO, I'm gonna look at it in just a second here. I'll show you what I mean by that double distribution. Um, in fact, let's jump to it right now. I think we're good there. So check out this document if you want to look at all this stuff for your own benefit. It includes the expected move of some potential scalp targets down here in the levels that we're looking at on ES. And that's our playbook today. So that 70 to 75 area is the pivot, but it's a pivot fade for me, really so this is SPX. Remember, everything's SPX unless noted otherwise. Example with the ES here. But really, until we break through that 93 area, it's all fades for me today. So let's look at our TPO chart and discuss specifically what's going on in kind of a complement to those levels that you see in that document. So again, use that document for our levels, and let's look at what's happening here. So we're actually starting to build value into this area. So It was looking to me like it kind of had that island look where we're going to just kind of keep breaking out, but we're coming back, we're testing it. I'm not going to merge it yet. I like to wait until the end of a session to merge that most prominent profile. But if we separate the rightmost merge here, which is today so far, you're seeing that trend look down. I want to keep these merged. Um, Obviously, we're still looking at that potential single support here at about like the 53 area. But what I want to look at, I want to look at it like this. Okay, so really above 93, if the bulls do unravel all this, that is that breakout look, and we'll probably see that move much higher if they do manage to do that. But until they can get back through that open, it's all bearish all day. So um, really, I'm watching these poor highs if that does occur. But until that, we'll see what happens at the single down here. Perhaps we'll get a bounce that's also near the yesterday's POC, or this distribution I think encompasses a little bit more than yesterday. Yeah, so yesterday in some of the overnight session, POC, once we get below that 50 area, again, I think we're going to start moving lower and perhaps even go as low as testing yesterday. That overnight low, if we get below 50, I think is the initial magnet. We'll look for a potential turnaround there. But again, it really depends all on open and how we treat that area. So if we look at some of our, let's just take a really a broad look real quick here. I'm gonna hide this window. Let's get our demo chart going here. So they're building nice support. I'm looking at it in my OFL chart. But you can see we've had the sideway action for days. We still haven't gone up and tested that SMA. I do think that is going to be a magnet at some point, but we're not there yet. And yeah, and so we're moving sideways. Not really much to see. Where this is all supply, this is all demand. I know some of you do not like all the different boxes and lines and stuff, but the way I look at it is kind of as a composite. Just I don't really know the psychological uh, how that works with the psychology, but I like to see where those areas of colors kind of come together. And you see we have a bunch of red stacked here, and we're building up some blue support. But I think there's some room to perhaps go down and retest. So I moved the value back to 365 days. We were looking at a little bit shorter time period. So looking back 365 days, I think it'd be interesting to test the lower end of this. And that takes us to that mid 3800 area that I've talked about in several other videos. So I mean, that's what it looks like on the larger chart. Again, I think we can get a little more granular for today. So specifically, let's look at the volatility chart. I'm going to clean this up real quick, hide some of the proprietary studies that are not really relevant to us right now. If you're interested in those studies, please go to that warm-up document. You see that read first. There's my OFL link and stuff in there. We'll keep the balance. And yeah, again, I don't really think anybody needs OFL. I like it. That's, it took me a while to learn, so maybe that's some type of bias. But if you want all this pretty stuff, that's where it's at. So, all right, daily plug complete. So let's look at volatility. Volatility is making a move here, and you can see it's above the daily balance. That's what this little box is here, and it's retesting this trend line. So we'll keep this trend line red for now. If we do pop back above there, to me, that's just confirmation of the bear move. A nice sound rejection combined with the probably a lower low and a pushback through that open is the opposite. So it really depends on that open day. It's a pretty surprisingly it's an easy read, just based on that aggressive open test drive. You could argue it's even an open drive, and so everything really hinges on the open. It's all short for me until then. And I think that's good for today. I'm going to put this all in the newsletter, so please subscribe at retailtrading.com if you have not already. And we'll package this nice and pretty for you. So yeah, feel free to engage with me there in the comment section of this video or anywhere in the socials. Really, I think Twitter is the only social that I'm even active on these days. And yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions, and I really appreciate any engagement. So that's all for today's routine briefing. Look out for the newsletter soon, and until then, stay classy, everybody.